All right, this is in response to a comment on I think actually maybe a little bit of a misunderstanding of what I was talking about when we were talking about separating or unlocking the body. Our subscriber said that, hey, if I brace my core, I then, and kind of like what I would call a ready tension versus just like an overall tension, that everything would move very well. I'm going to go with no on that, actually. In my experience, I remember very kind of early in my career, trying to follow, PTs and guys with physical. They say, hey, you got to really make sure the transversus abdominis is really tight so you don't injure yourself in your golf swing. And then I think about a golf swing in the context that I see it now, which is more accurate with the understanding of acceleration and gravity and the physics that allow us to move, is like, well, anytime I do reaching movements, I don't feel like I tighten my core at all, actually. In fact, I feel like everything is balanced in itself. The only time I feel like I need to tighten my core is when I feel like I'm falling over. So that's a misperception, I think, just that has pervaded the golf industry, is that, yeah, if I want to support a load, here, if I want to support this load like this, I'd better get a little bit of support on my spine, okay? I don't want to be like loose with this while I'm supporting things. I can injure myself. So in the context of weightlifting and using forces and strength to try to move something, well, of course, you need to be tight in your core. That's a very good thing. There's going to be no weightlifter out there that's going to be not tight in their core when they're supporting something that is really like heavy. But if you have that attitude in the golf swing, all you do is you get restriction and you're not able to move. And so if my backswing is trying to support the weight of the club, even though it's not very heavy, I feel my core is tightening up, it's resisting me. But if I really make a good movement, where I can actually have access to a really clean path and really extend it out to the golf ball, I feel exactly the opposite, actually. I experience that things are more relaxed. And I don't need to have this tension in my body. That is a belief of the mind that if I'm going to pull on the golf club, which is most people's impression, whether they like it or not, that I need to get my body ready to pull. Well, of course that's true. If you needed to pull on something heavy, you would naturally lean into it, tighten yourself, and to execute the pull. But the golf swing doesn't really transfer like that. And I know I have videos that talk in the past about the transfer of angular momentum, that this segment does this and this. It certainly looks like that. If you hook up a K-vest to yourself, it certainly has a function like that, but it most absolutely does not feel like that. It is not an active transfer of muscular events. It is simply a fluid reach that is driven by our body's natural ability to increase the pressure in our body to move the masses, which has to be done perfectly around the center of gravity to work well. This is why most people are not good, or not as good as they could be at golf. They're always trying to create a force which thereby has too much tension in it, so they're kind of dead from the get-go. Learning how to move where there is freedom is a very easy experience when you just reach for things. Do any motion that you just do unconsciously and you realize, man, I don't tighten up for anything. It's like the motion balances itself. It requires almost no muscle. So it doesn't require this kind of intense stability. So if you're really understanding a golf motion and you feel like your core is really tight, ask yourself this question: what is making my core need to be tight? Because when I make a really nice backswing and hit a shot that's really solid, I don't feel much tension in my body at all. And I'm not saying I don't feel anything. Of course you feel your body bouncing off the ground and that there's stabilizations happening in the swing. But the activity of these muscles that most of us are trying to use is actually what would cause the core to tighten up, which would then actually restrict the motion. So understanding that the golf swing is not this sequential orientation of body part to body part to body part, even though I've said that in the past, I've grown in my understanding, I would strongly start to understanding that it is a simultaneous movement. Everything that I do in the time cycle of the golf swing has a flow to it and has an unrestrictedness. And when you can find that flow and unrestrictedness in your golf motion, you now are going into a whole new path of understanding.